Did you know this one synth patch allows you to make 90% of the sounds you'll ever need? Let me show you. So I've got Vital right here, which is a free synthesizer. It is very similar to Serum, and it opens up with a saw wave oscillator. And that's for a good reason, because a sawtooth has both even and odd harmonics, so it's a very rich character. And the way subtractive synthesis works is we can sculpt this sound by using filters. But of course, simply filtering out high frequencies isn't enough. We need some sort of movement, and that's where the envelopes come into play. So envelope 1 by default is tied to the amplifier, so just the volume. But most of the time I just leave the sustain all the way up, with a little bit of release to prevent clicks. But if we go to envelope number 2, I can tie this to the filter cutoff. So right now we're modulating the filter opening and closing. Now in this case I turn the sustain all the way down, and now I can control the time with the decay control. How much I want the filter to open up depends on the envelope amount right here. So just a tiny bit or all the way. And actually this sound is already starting to sound like a pluck. So a pluck is a name for like a, well, very similar to a plucked guitar string, for example. Really percussive. And you just need to play around with the envelope amount and the decay time. And this sound is usable for techno, for trance, deep house, whatever genre. It's also great for arpeggios. And of course you can always add some attack to soften the fade in of the sound. And this makes it a little bit more brassy. I use this a lot in melodic techno actually. Especially with some reverb and delay. And yeah, top it off with some sidechain compression. More like a mix thing, but still, it helps. Alright, now with one simple change I can turn this into a bass sound. So let me just copy over Vital to a bass track I've already made with a simple bass part. Now all I'm gonna do is turn up the sustain a little bit. Otherwise the sound dies down completely. I still want to hear it a little bit. But the decay time gives it a really punchy sound. Don't make it too short. It could be a bit longer. If you want, you can even turn up the attack, but I'm not gonna do that in this case. If we add some sidechain as well. It's a bass. It's it's literally the same patch. I just added some sustain, that's it. Now, of course, you can always apply some effects. So, for example, a little bit of chorus. And I've got an utility to make the low end mono. Just to add some movement. Alright, how about a pad? I already added a filter. Now I just need to add an envelope. In this case, I want a long attack and also a long decay. And I'm gonna lower the sustain all the way. Now I don't want to make it too bright. So I'm gonna turn down the envelope amount and the filter cutoff as well. I do want to turn up the release in this case on the amplifier. Unless the notes you play are already pretty long. Then a long release isn't really necessary, but if you're playing, of course this only works if I also turn up the release on envelope 2. So now the sound keeps on playing a little bit after I let go of the keys. That could be useful. But in this case, I've already got long notes, so I don't really need a long release. Because if you make it too long, you can also get overlapping notes. So that's something you can play around with. But let me go back, maybe shorten the attack a bit. Increase the decay. And play around with the filter cutoff. And that's it. It's a pad. All I did is increase the attack, increase the decay. Still the same patch. Maybe increase the decay a bit more. Turn down the envelope. Maybe the level. Now, of course, if I wanted to tweak this sound, one easy thing to do is to add some detune, so some unison, which I've got right here. Just turn up the amount, and then I've got the detune amount right here. Just to widen and thicken the sound. Okay. Now, finally, let's create a lead. So I've got the same patch again. Envelope 2 going to the filter. But in this case, I am using a little bit of sustain. Because I want to add both short and long notes. And with the sustain all the way down, I can't really control the length. But I don't want to turn it up completely either. It's not dynamic. It's pretty boring. But if I turn it down, I do get a little bit of punch from the decay. And I still hear the sound sustain. And one thing I also do with leads most of the time is to turn down the polyphony to one voice, meaning we can only play one note at a time. And I might I want to activate glide or legato. Then of course you may need to decide which notes you want to overlap. That's all with the same patch as a start. Of course you can add more variations from here. For example, I can add some noise, white noise. I can add a second oscillator. Maybe with a different waveform this time. For example, a square wave. You can play around with the phase. Oh, let's say I don't want a random phase. Play around with the octaves. Or add some LFO if you want. To the filter, for example. And maybe add a fade in. So it only applies to the long sustained notes. Make it stereo. And yeah, then after this it's mainly using delay, sidechain compression, reverb, chorus and stuff like that, which is actually more of a mix thing. So yeah, it's all in the envelopes, the filter and of course the notes themselves. You see how synthesis doesn't need to be difficult at all? Now try it out for yourself, using different synthesizers as each one has its own characteristic sound. Of course there's way more you can do with a synthesizer, but the most important thing is that all sounds need to fit into an entire production. And sometimes basic sounds like these are all you need. Alright, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions and I'll see you soon with another tutorial.